First of all, we have many astronauts who have described what they call space euphoria when they travel outside the Earth's orbit. They describe themselves having a profound sense of being connected to the universe. He said that he was aware that each of his atoms were connected to the planet Earth and every other atom in the universe. It was a sense of interconnected cosmic euphoria. In terms of torsion fields, this is what we call a bliss hit. Now, let's take a look at some, does anybody want to see the Chinese vegetables that were flown into space? That's a pumpkin, of course. Nothing different about this except that it was flown into space. Next, we're going to see a cucumber, but this is no ordinary cucumber. And now we're going to see hot peppers that normally are about this big. The only thing they did is fly them into space. One time a man came up to me in a conference and he was angry with me. And he said that they flew seeds up in NASA spacecraft and nothing happened. The problem is that NASA's space capsules are made out of aluminum. And aluminum shields torsion fields, which would stop that from happening. So if scientists want this to work, you have to use something other than aluminum inside your space capsule. So the question is, can we find the source of all life inside an energy wave? Is there a way that we can prove that life is coming from an energy wave? This man's name is Dr. James Strick, and he wrote a book called Sparks of Life that explored this subject. He exposes a major scientific conspiracy in the 19th century. Some scientists argued in favor of the Darwin model of evolution by random mutations. Others were arguing for spontaneous generation, or life being created from non-living material. So there were numerous experimental examples found where spontaneous generation showed up. Even Louis Pasteur had cases where life originated from non-living material. So this whole theory is not easily dismissed. But history has been completely rewritten in favor of the Darwinian model. Now this is a mouthful. This is on orgone.org is the website. Now what he did is he took beach sand and he heated it up to the point that it was white hot. Then he took that sand and he put it inside a test tube with pure water. After 5 days, a skin would grow on top of the water. And he would scrape off that skin and look at it under a microscope. It was a completely sterilized tube of water. So nothing should be able to live through that. Now this is what we see if you don't sterilize the sand, if you don't heat it up first. All we see is these globs that have no real interesting things about them. But if you purify and sterilize the sand first, then you start seeing these little critters growing inside the water. This almost looks like a brain. Now check this out. Would you like to see this up close? Very clearly biological. These plants do not survive at 1,000 degrees Celsius, which is the temperature the sand was heated up to. This looks like a red blood cell here, and this looks like a white blood cell. But this next one is my favorite of all. Imagine a little spiny porcupine. Oh! You can see he's got a little mouth to eat, probably a little head there, and he even has his own defense system. Where did his DNA come from? All there was is sterilized beach sand, sterilized water. That's it. This is clearly a creature that survives at room temperature, and if you heat him up very much, he's going to die. None of these creatures survive at 1,000 degrees Celsius, but that's what they came from. Now, of course, Dan Burish is proving that this is happening in the laboratory. But his knowledge was classified top secret by the government, because they don't want us to know that life is coming out of non-living material. So the question is, how far can we take this new life that's coming out of the energy field? This new study just came out on February 15th, and I'm very excited about it. What we're seeing is life forms that appear only at the North Pole or the South Pole in the ocean, nowhere else. Let's take the lights down. They found 235 identical species at both poles. The scientists were startled. They found whales, worms, and crustaceans among many other species.
Scheint.
Exactly where they came from and how they ended up a world apart with comparatively warm oceans in between remains a mystery. They decided that maybe it could be from a ship where they got stuck in the ballast of the ship in the North Pole and then the ship sailed to the South Pole. They studied all the ships in the ocean and there was nothing like that. So the creatures you're about to see are literally being created out of energy only and then appearing at these 2 points on the Earth. Would you like to see some weird sea creatures? That only appears at the North Pole and the South Pole. And here's another one. Here's a little critter, little crustacean, and another one. Let's not forget now that what we've been talking about is an energy field. And if you get a beam of this energy coming at you, you feel this wonderful bliss. It also makes life grow much bigger. Now what we're going to see is that this energy can reprogram DNA. It can literally take one type of creature and turn it into another type of creature. The first example of this is seen with bacteria. You take bacteria that cannot digest lactose, and you put them in lactose. The bacteria do not die in the lactose. They actually rewrite their own DNA and spontaneously develop a new mouth that can digest the lactose. This lizard showed a 36-year evolution. In 36 years, he completely changed his evolution. 5 adult pairs of this lizard were moved in 1971 from their home island. Their home island was a desert where they ate insects. On the new island, they had only vegetables, and they became vegetarians. The scientists returned in 2004 through 2006. They captured the lizards and measured the size of their noses, their heads, and their bodies. They took little cuttings from the tails and confirmed they were the same with the DNA to their parents. They noticed that the size and shape of the head was strikingly different. The head became larger. Their bite strength became much stronger. And they developed brand new structures inside their digestive system. These are called cecal valves, and this was never before seen in these lizards. It creates a pocket of fermented liquid to digest plants. So you can see here in these different types of this lizard, the different sizes of the head that can happen. These changes allowed them to be able to eat plants better. They also became much less aggressive and stopped defending their territory. So it's a good case for being a vegetarian. All right. The next example happened even faster than 36 years. This lizard, Anolis sagri, exists on an island where he's all by himself. They had no natural predators on this island. But then this predator lizard was introduced who eats the Anoli. These lizards first tried to run away from these guys on land. They very quickly developed longer legs so that they could run faster. But the problem was that they were still dying. So then they realized that they had to climb a tree if they were going to survive. And they grew much shorter legs to be able to climb the tree. This happened within a single generation. It's pretty amazing. And there he is in the tree. So here you see one on land and how they would run. Now we're also seeing fish suddenly changing in the Congo. They're growing larger and larger. Orangutans are learning to fish by sticks now. They're also learning how to swim, which they never did before. Scientists are baffled by this. Now, can species be energetically transformed from one to another? That's what we were talking about. Can you actually change from one creature to a completely different creature? The first scientist who discovered this that we're going to talk about is Tzyan Conchazin. As you can see, this is a duck and this is a chicken. It's completely anatomically correct. These are funnels and these are pipes. This is a microwave generator. So he's basically nuking the duck and sending the energy into where this chicken is. The chicken is pregnant with eggs. What do you think happens when it lays the eggs? Well, let's take a look.